good morning and welcome to Radio Tiny House. I'm Barry Smith.
And I'm Beth.
And we're here on a cold day. This is our 12th episode.
Which is a big, exciting milestone for us.
It is for us, and it's so big that I decided to wear a celebratory flannel shirt, mainly because it's really, really cold outside.
Yeah.
And
it's getting to be Christmas, so you got to have
it
the
is.
red
That's,
going
that's
on.
true. I kind of, if I had the beard and longer hair, I could, and we were in a wooden room, I could be a lumberjack. Anyway, we did have an adventure this morning.
We did.
It was a cold adventure. Beth was walking up to the office. I had my coffee. I was coming up behind her and noticed that our great peer was out and had escaped.
Yes, and she hasn't been with us that long, probably 3 months maybe.
Yeah.
And even though she got out a couple of days ago and came to me, but they are wanderers, so we didn't want to end up having to chase her down all through the neighborhood. So we worked. The whole family got out and chased the dog down, but it kind of slowed our plans down for our podcast this morning.
It did, because we were planning on having a Christmas tree in our studio this morning, and that didn't work out.
No.
I didn't know Great Pyrenees were like hound dogs, because she was sniffing. She found the trail of something, and she was sniffing like Cash, our hound dog, does.
Well, her job is to protect the flock, so maybe that's part of her, deal.
I don't know. She was tracking something, and finally came to peanut butter.
Yeah,
which
finally
is
came to peanut butter.
Kind of more like a bird, but
Actually, really, the only reason she came to us was that all the other dogs, while we were out calling her, showed up, and so she joined the pack.
Right. She probably either wanted to see them or got jealous of the attention that
Who
they
knows?
were receiving.
But anyway, we did get her, but it put us behind our plans this morning.
It did indeed.
That's what life is like when you live in the country with a bunch of dogs.
Well, yes, but they should, always come to you.
Yeah.
We'll have to work on that.
Yeah.
Great Pyrenees are wonderful dogs. They're loving and affectionate. That was my phone because we just got done with a call and I didn't turn it off. So they're great dogs. She's still a puppy, so she still likes to jump up occasionally on people. But they kind of do things in their own time and in their own way.
Yeah.
So that's something that the humans have to adjust to a little bit.
We're working with her.
So, guys, we've got 17 days until Christmas.
Scary.
If you celebrate Christmas, then
I
happy,
get on
happy
Amazon
Christmas.
today.
If not, yeah, because it may be too late for some things. And I hope you've got your holiday plans worked out. It's going to be kind of weird this year again with coronavirus and not being able to have large gatherings as a family. But, here's what I say. Do what you want to do.
Okay.
Take precautions. Be safe. Today is also kind of a momentous day for the podcast because we have our first guest.
I know, and we even figured out the technology about how to have the first
that
guest.
was an interesting challenge.
Challenging.
Yeah.
You'd think it'd be easy.
Well, it is
Let's
easy.
just have a phone call. Let's just do it.
If you have the right kind of board and equipment, then it is easy.
So every time we get some new piece of technology, Barry has new technology lust and wants something different. So I'm like, let's see if we can make this one work. And it was challenging, but we did it.
We've had that one for a while, so
maybe 2 months.
My Christmas present to myself may be the Zoom board. So anyway, our first guest is DeLynn Shelton.
Yep.
And what's special about DeLynn?
DeLynn built a Tuff Shed like we did, but it looks totally different.
It's a really cool house.
It's a really cool house. It's very, like our house is more modern and more cottagey.
Right.
Hers is very rustic and very cabiny, and they just have done an amazing job. So if you are listening to us here, you might want to pop on the podcast. You might want to pop on to the YouTube channel because while we're interviewing her, I'm going to run a slideshow of her house that she talks about.
Right.
It was the best way we felt like we could get you the information that you needed, but be able to see what a great job they've done.
Right. So DeLynn and her husband live in a 16 by 20.
Little 4 feet shorter than ours.
Right. TR 1600, which is what we've got. It's a Tuff Shed Home. They did do a bump out for a bathroom.
In the back.
10 by 10, is that what?
That's what she said.
Yeah, that's what she said. So that's, that's a pretty good sized bathroom.
Yeah. And she has a washer dryer stacked in there. I think that's in the bathroom. So anyway, it's really lovely, but it's very rustic. Looks very different from our house, which is the great thing about being able to get a shell that does the hard work for you,
right?
Like the framing and stuff. Gets it delivered, and then you can make it yourself, your own.
That's right.
It doesn't have to be Tuff Shed, but you can make it your own. And I think people that start this journey, they really realize that they have this desire to create their own very unique space.
Well, that's the great thing about not buying a house in a subdivision. Those decisions have all been made for you. You get to choose the color.
Well, you go in and you think they're pretty.
Right, and the type of cabinets and stuff like that. But when you do your own home, when you do a shed home or a tiny home or whatever, you get to make all the decisions about everything, from where the outlets are going to where the toilets are going to go.
And some days those are good decisions, and some days they aren't.
Yes, that's true. Although I honestly haven't. We didn't make any horrible decisions.
No, there's some things I wish we had
I would
done
do differently.
I hate our flooring. Yep. And in this interview that we just recorded, and by the way, we'll add to the end of this, after we talk, but she talks about her 2x6 tongue and groove flooring. I'm like, oh my God, that's what I want.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
That would be awesome. I'm going to have to see if I can find that.
So anyway,
figure out the bathroom if we do that.
Our interview, we recorded the interview.
Yep.
So
that was fun. We figured out how to do that.
As they would say in old time radio, it's been transcribed for your listening pleasure. Without further delay,
I just want to say this is going to make our episode a little longer.
Wait a minute, with further delay.
But we hope you listen to the end, because I think she's got a lot of good information.
Oh, she's got a lot of great information. She was a great person to interview.
A great first interview.
Yeah, and we hope you'll enjoy it. So here it is, our interview with DeLynn Shelton.
From Texas.
Who lives in a Tuff Shed TR 1600. All right, we're here with DeLynn Shelton today. Hi, DeLynn.
Hey, how are y'all doing?
Doing great. How are you today?
Doing great, thank you.
Good. DeLynn is the owner of a Tuff Shed house. Mm-hmm. It's the TR 1600 model, which is the model that we have.
Right.
And she's done some amazing things with it. Now, you where do you live, DeLynn?
We live in North Texas.
North Texas. Okay, so you guys, are you in the woods or close to woods, or?
Our acreage is heavily wooded. We've got a little bit of pasture land, but it's mostly woods.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have our TR 1600 on what used to be pasture land. There's woods on the side, the kind of a wind break between our houses and others, but we're sort of the opposite. We're like in the middle of the sunshine.
Yeah.
We have one tree right in the middle.
Yeah. We've got areas like that, but for ag exemption purposes, we got to run cows. And so, to keep our taxes lower.
Right.
So we just stuffed ours up in the woods, where it's kind of like living on a lake, really. I mean, we're close to a lake, but it's nice and woodsy, and we just shoved them up in there as far as we could get them.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So now, did y'all, obviously you had Tuff Shed come out and build it. Did you because I've seen pictures, did you do the siding yourself, or was that something that Tuff Shed did?
No, actually we had them leave the siding off, and the shingles and the windows. We had them just build the shell. We had a concrete slab poured ready for them, and they came out and built it on site in about a day and a half. I mean, it didn't take them long at all.
No. Yeah. Ours took a little longer because we were, of course, having an ice storm in the middle of that, because that's how things happen when you're building houses. But
exactly.
Your house is almost identical to ours. It's a 2-story, 16 maybe wide?
16 by 20, and then we added the 10 by 10 on the back.
Yeah. We have just a 16 by 24, so we just have the very simple salt box look. But then the original picture that I took that I showed Barry when I said, look, we can build this house, and there's a house between our house and the Home Depot. Oh my God, I don't even know how we would have built this if we didn't live 5 miles from Home Depot, because how many trips did we make? But there's a house between us that looks almost like one of these Tuff Sheds, but it's built in the probably the early, maybe 1900s, but it's just a salt box double story, and it has double porches on it. And I said, see, we could do this, and then we could have these double porches, and the whole conversation. And we've been in our house for 3 years. How long have you been in your house?
About the same.
About the same. So the whole conversation that started this was, see, we can do these double porches, and then I can walk out from the bedroom and I can look over our property and drink my coffee. And I've never been able to convince him that we would actually use that second porch. And now you are part of my ammo because you have double porches.
So do you use your
the
upper porch?
I'm assuming y'all's bedroom is upstairs.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we just have one big room below and one big room above.
Yes, we do. I'm outside all the time. I mean, it's not a really tiny house for us. I mean, it's just the two of us and some dogs. So it's not really, it doesn't seem that small to me, but I'm outside all the time. So I use the porches, both of them.
Well, see, the whole point about living tiny.
I think you should totally do it. I think you would be so happy with it.
I think I would.
I think Beth called you prior to this conversation and set this up.
Yeah. Well, we do what we have to do.
You know what I think you should do is I probably would do a wraparound porch so you could go all the way around. I'm just saying. I mean, we've talked about that and thought that would be a really cool feature as well. So,
well, we lived in Charleston, South Carolina for a while, and they, the way they do it, there's their porch that we think of as a front porch is on the side, and that's sort of where I got that whole notion that I really liked that upper front porch. But, we also, in our old age, we expect to have a master in the downstairs in case we can't, we're too feek and weeble to get upstairs. And so we thought about putting like a half a wrap and then having a porch, a door come out onto that porch. Does that make sense? Like push it back just a little bit so it kind of wraps. So the porch debate has been ongoing. But anyway, what I also love about your house is that it's the very same house we have, but it looks radically different because of the siding that you put on. So tell me about the siding that you guys used.
It's 1x12 cedar, and we did board and batten.
Uh-huh.
So we basically just had Tuff Shed leave the house the way it was with the plastic wrap that they do.
Right.
Whatever that Tyvek.
Tough wrap. Tyvek or something.
And then we came back and we did the board and batten cedar on the top half, and then we did corrugated metal as, halfway down, up halfway. I guess
so you've got 8 feet of corrugated metal and 8 feet of board and batten on the upper deck? Is that what you've got?
It's not 8 feet of corrugated. It's just one sheet. So it's like whatever a sheet is, 23, 26.
Oh, I didn't even notice that because it's also like warm and cozy. When I look at your picture, I didn't even notice that. Now I'm going to have to look at it.
Yeah, so just around the bottom, kind of just the bottom half, very bottom. It's just one sheet goes around. But then we call it the mule shed because we originally built the shed off of the side to park our ATV or our mule that we used for the farm. And so, but I ended up loving it so much that I said, no, it's not going to be a mule shed, but we still call it that because we bricked it, the floor. And I said, this would be a beautiful place to have a sitting area. So the mule got kicked out and now we use that. But in that shed, we did the whole wall corrugated metal underneath the roof.
That's cool.
So is that a separate building that you're describing or that little L off the back of your house?
No, the back of the house is a 10 by 10 bathroom. But on the side of the house, I think the west side of the house, we have a shed roof that comes off the side.
Oh.
In some of the pictures that I've commented on so many people's posts that I don't, it's in there. It's
I'll find it.
I'm in. I can send it to you also through Messenger.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Just shed roof off the side of the building, and we bricked it.
That's cool.
It's really just a drive-through. I mean, just think about parking a little ATV up under there. You could drive right through it. I mean, you can move all the chairs and everything and drive right through it if I wanted to, but I like it as a sitting area.
Or if you want new furniture, you could just leave them there and drive through.
You could.
So I got so hung up on the porches, I didn't even find your mule shed. So I got to look for that.
We have a goat shed.
Yeah.
that started. It was the first building we built on the property. It's a pallet shed.
We thought that would be cool and cheap. It's not a very good plan. Don't do it.
No. And then we moved all the tools out of it, and we were going to turn it into a neighborhood pub.
Cool.
And then our daughter brought some goats home.
And they were cold and miserable, and we are soft-hearted, and said, well, we're going to have a barn for the goats.
So the pub is now the barn, the goat barn.
Oh, well.
Oh, well. You know how that goes.
So give me a little background, and Beth may know this already, but before you guys bought and built your Tuff Shed Home, where were you in, like a big house or a small house, or did you make it? Was it a tough transition to go from big to small, or did you just not even have to do that?
Well, we went from it's about 2,000 square feet house in town in a subdivision. We lived there for about 15 years. Prior to that, we lived in another little house that we had bought when we first got married, and we completely remodeled it from ground up because it was a little 900 square foot home. So I was kind of used to living in a smaller house until,
right.
Then we can move to the larger house and live there for so long, and you know how much stuff you accumulate.
Oh, yes.
So when we started looking for property, which we did that for several years, I always knew I wanted to move to the country and get out of the city. But we had to find a place that was close enough to work, where we both worked. And I wanted to hang on to the house while we bought the property and then build the shed, because I couldn't imagine myself moving out of my house where we were in our comfort, and moving somewhere, an apartment or something like that, until we had the property and built the cabin.
Right.
So it was kind of scary for me to do that. So we ended up hanging on to the house. We found the property, and we decided, let's build a little cabin. We always intended for this cabin to just be a guest cabin, because we have a lot of visitors that come over. My brother lives in Australia, so we've met a lot of people from over there.
Oh, cool.
My mom's Australian.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's been over there for about 10 or 15 years now. I don't know. He's been over there a long time. He married an Australian lady and started his family and moved over there. So we have a lot of friends that come here, and they would stay at our house there where we were, and they would make it like a home base for themselves. And then they would go all over the country and do their vacationing, and then come back and visit with us. And so we thought, well, you know what? Let's just make a cabin that they can all stay in while they're here, and it'll be like an extended stay cabin, and we'll build our house later. So that, and it'd be more affordable to build something smaller instead of just going right into building the larger house, because we wanted to do it all out of pocket. We didn't want to have
us too.
So that's what we ended up doing. And it wasn't that hard, because we ended up getting shipping containers to store all of our stuff that we just couldn't live without.
Right.
So we've got several shipping containers that have that stuff. I've gone through it periodically and kind of, discarded some of the things. I'm like, we're never going to use this. But our overall plan is not just this one cabin. Our site plan we already have 3 other cabins in the works. We've got 3 other Tuff Sheds that are 1 story. They're 14 by 20, and they're separate, but they're all together in the woods. So those are also our spare bedrooms, I call them. I mean, basically what we wanted to do was take a house and blow it out.
That's exactly what we wanted to do. We are in a county that won't allow that, if you will. Now, if we don't put sewer and kitchens in our other cabins, we can do that. They don't care. But we have to, comply to like 1 acre per building, blah, blah, blah. So we have what we call our shoffice, which is a lofted barn shed. That's the back part's finished and the front part is sort of halfway finished, and that's a project for this winter. But now my daughter, who lives in Atlanta, will come up and stay in the newly finished shoffice, right? But I love that idea of blowing out your house because that bedroom square footage is actually pretty cheap.
Right.
And you get a big house.
We're going to put small bathrooms in each one of those. So basically it'll be going from a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house to a 4-bedroom, 4-bath house.
Plus then you're going to build another house.
And then if we end up building our own, which I kind of like this little shed. I'm kind of more like y'all. I was telling my husband, I'm like, I think we should just build a bedroom on the first floor and attach it later on when, like you said, when we don't want to climb the stairs.
Right.
Right.
So, I mean, we may end up doing that. We may end up building another one that's all one story, on one floor.
Right.
You have to be flexible. And really and truly, that's something that we were kind of talking about last night. I was like, let's go over this. Because it's been a long time, but it really hasn't been that long since we started this project.
Right. I know it feels like it's so weird. We'll look back at Facebook and go, oh my gosh, have we really been in this house almost 3 years?
Right.
And then sometimes it's like, I don't even remember doing that. But, it's a sort of kind of a weird thing when you're in a house building experience. It just, and there's a project and something else I want to do. And once you have the skills, it's kind of woe be unto you, because then you go, and I could have this and I could have that.